Block Sports. Big 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 Block Sports.
All right, we are live once again, week 2. What it do? Big Block Sports podcast. You know, I'm representing for the squad. It's victory. Well, we had victory Monday yesterday. It's victory Tuesday today. I'm probably going to drop this episode on Wednesday. So it's victory Wednesday until next week when we win again. But we are here. Great week of football. Was it not? Would you say this was a great opening weekend of football? And we'll get into the scores and the stories in a little bit here. So much to cover. We got a big show today. So much going on in the league, right? This is like you don't realize how different last season was until this season came around. Like the Raiders game, the beginning, that was like any given Sunday. Like they had the DJ and they had the boxing announcer screaming at the top of his lungs. Like I was like, yo, what movie is this? Because this movie about football is awesome. But you know, like we do every week, I got this one is a little bit of a rant. It's a little rant. I got a little rant, you know, just a little something I want to express so I feel better about it later on in my life. So let's talk about it. Raheem Mostert. Let's talk about it. Let's take a walk with me, right? So let me preface my statements here because I don't want to hear I'm a hater and like, you know, you come to a podcast for opinions, you know, like you don't come here to have me toe the line and try and be PC and be friendly. You know, I do my best to be objective. I try and be as realistic as possible. I don't always have positive things to say, even about my own team, about my own players. This one being a great example. But just know that it comes from a place of fandom, right? You know, it comes from a place of admiration for the game. And, you know, when you see things in the game that just are just like, you know, like people bled for this and this is what's happening, you just, So with that said, Raheem, come on, bro. Come on. What are you doing, bro? What are you doing? Seriously. Let's talk about this, right? And as the most 49er fan I know, right? I feel like I'm at liberty. I feel like, you know, just like you with your family, you can talk about your family. Can't nobody else talk about your retarded auntie but you. Nobody else, just you, right? But if you're not a 49er fan, let me set the stage for you, right? So Raheem Mostert was our starting running back, and I'll get into why he was and not is in a moment here, but he was a starting running back, and let me set the stage. Kick something. Let me set the stage as to why I'm like, come on, bro, because I'm not really upset. I'm not really bothered, you know, like this is football, players get injured, but come on, bro. It's the first thing that comes to my head, like, come on. Come on. So let me set the stage for you guys. Let me give you some background, and then I'll bring you back to today's events. To kind of bring it all together, right? So I went in like I usually do before I do my show. I research, you know, I read columns, I try and watch videos, I try and make an informed opinion, right? I could just get up here and blurt a bunch of BS, but I wanna be informed. So I learned his name is actually Dominique, not Raheem. Raheem is his middle name, so I don't know why he goes by Raheem instead of Dominique, but whatever. And damn, you know, I learned he's a Florida boy, just like me. We both from Florida. That's crazy. And here I am talking about a fellow Floridian. Like it was very Florida man of him now that I think about it. but I digress. He's from New Smyrna Beach, which is probably one of the cities that you either never heard of or you don't think of when you first hear Florida, right? You probably think of Duval, Jacksonville, right? Because they have a football team. You probably think of Tampa Bay, as they call it now. And of course, Miami. Everybody knows about Miami all over the world, specifically South Beach, especially the NFL. They just seem to use like Miami and South Beach interchangeably. Like you even see during the Dolphin games, they'll do a flyover of the stadium and then kind of blend that in with the flyover of South Beach, like they're right next to each other. No. Locally, Hard Rock Stadium, which is the Dolphin Stadium, is known as Joe Robbie because that was like the first name, and it's been through a bunch of different names, but we always just call it Joe Robbie, regardless of who it is. Like it's Hard Rock now, it's Joe Robbie. It's like 30, 40 minutes away from South Beach. And another fun fact, local people from Miami, like myself, we avoid South Beach at all costs. Like we will do everything, and we'll go to a CVS or a Walmart or something 20 minutes out the way just to not have to go to South Beach. Like we will avoid South Beach at all costs. People, that's the first thing they say. Oh, you from Miami? You must love South Beach. No, we avoid South Beach. It's annoying. It's expensive. People are douchey. Anyway, back to Raheem, right? So he's from Florida, New Smyrna Beach. He went to Purdue. He was undrafted. Nobody wanted him. 7 rounds in 2015. 7 rounds, 30, basically on average, 32 teams in each round. Nobody picked him. Nobody. He walked on, right? He ended up being picked up by Philadelphia. And I'll have to bring up my list here because it's a bit extensive. So in Philly in 2015, he walked on and then he bounced through 6 teams. Basically, he didn't make the final cut. He ended up on the waiver wire. A team would pick him up, put him on the practice squad. Either they would release him or he would choose to sign with another team because, for the practice squad, you can leave to go to an active roster. So that happened 6 times. He went from Philly to Miami to Baltimore to Cleveland to New York to Chicago. And then finally, he ended up in San Francisco at the end of the 2016 season. So again, undrafted in 2015. Went through 6 teams, not really I don't want to say he's trash, right? Because obviously these teams continue to pick him up, but definitely not a game breaker, right? Because then they wouldn't have let him go or even risk him on the waiver wire. So he ended up on San Francisco, ended the 2016 season. Few activations, like I said, mostly as a special teamer. Now, that was 2016 when he started in San Francisco. 2017, San Francisco, he was placed on IR. 2018 in San Francisco, he also ended up on IR again. All right. So there's a lot moving. There's a lot going on here. Let me recap just shortly there, right? Undrafted, bounced around, 2 stints on IR. Now, mind you, this man was not even a starter. This man was on the practice squad, or he was a gunner on special teams, and he's on IR twice already, right? So it's not like he's running back number 1, wear and tear, okay, we could see the IR. But anyway, he stuck San Francisco. He stuck with San Francisco. I remember him specifically as the best gunner we had in a while, right? I think we've always had some great special teams players. And Mostert was one of those guys. He was really fast as a gunner. I think initially when I saw him as a gunner, I didn't even know he was a running back, but he is a running back. So things worked well for him in San Francisco. So in 2019, he signed a 3-year deal. And then after that deal, he was actually able to be a running back, because they tried him out during the 2018 season, and he was positive, productive, I should say. So then after he signed that 3-year, now this is again 2019, 3-year deal, 2019, 2020, 2020. So 2022, he should be straight, right? 3-year deal. 2019, he finished respectable, 772 yards, 8 touchdowns, right? Almost 1,000 yards. You're like, yo, good pickup, right? Undrafted dude, bounce around. We saw him, right? We saw him for what he was. He was effective, right? Injured, oft injured, This is before he even got to San Francisco off injured. But here we are, right? Then you start to really look into that season. 772 yards. Well, 220 of it was in one game, right? So that's, I'm not a great mathematician, but that's almost 20, 40, 60, 80. It's almost a quarter, right? Of a quarter of his total yards came in one game. And then he had 8 touchdowns, 4 were in the Green Bay game. So half of his touchdowns were in one game, right? And that was in the second round of the playoffs. No, that was the NFC Championship game, where we faced Green Bay and he went off and everybody was like, "Oh, Jimmy only threw 8 throws, bro. He's a terrible." Yo, we were running like 10 yards a clip. Yo, it could have been Joe Montana back there. If we're running 10 yards a clip, run the ball, bro. Keep running. Make them stop us. And they never stopped us. He just kept running. Now, this same season that I'm talking about, this same playoff that I'm talking about, he left the first playoff game early because he was hurt. Okay. Now, last season, right? COVID season. This dude, after that one hot game, basically, what he called a hot seat, that reminds me of like Jay-Z, Nas, right? You made it a hot line, I made it a hot song. He had one hot line and tried to turn it into a hot song. Asked for a trade because he wanted more money. Come on, Raheem. Okay, get your money, bro. But if you want to go, just go, bro. Like when these people post on social media, like, "Oh, I'm about to log off for a couple of weeks. You know, I don't look out for me. I don't like this." So, yo, just go, dog. No one cares. Just go. So if you didn't like San Francisco, go, dog. Just go. Requested a trade. Mind you, now you're who you are. You're on a team that is primed for a Super Bowl run. The Shanahans make running backs Hall of Famers. Like, they make them. Think of the names that have come through the Shanahan offense. Terrell Davis, Clinton Portis, Willis McGahee, Otis Anderson. Hell, they even had Alfred Morris in Washington, like, looking effective. This is what the Shanahans do with running backs. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you want to leave? For what? Anyway, so, injury history, right? From here to there. Signed a deal. Ran, again, one hot line. Tried to make it a hot song. But San Francisco worked it out, right? They restructured his deal. Then that season, the season that he requested a trade, the season started late because of COVID. So he lasted until October. That's the second game. Second game, he's on IR. After he just asked for a trade, he's on IR, second game. November, he came back because this is when, with COVID, they had a short-term IR where they can let you slide off for 2 or 3 weeks and then you can bring back. It's not like the full season IR like they have, like they had before COVID. So they brought him back in November, back on IR in December. Bro, this man, let me keep going because there's more. There is so much more to the story. If you're not already like, what the fuck, you will be now. Here we are, 2021, right? Everything's looking up. Bosa's back. Defense is back. Samuel is healthy. We drafted Trey Lance. Mostert is back because obviously he was hurt last year. Everybody was hurt last year. And I'm watching OTAs. I'm watching training camp. And Mostert is wearing a knee brace. Like, not like a sleeve. Like the full-on Tom Brady quarterback knee brace on his right knee, which is cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, play with the brace, bro. Like, embrace the brace. You know, like if you hurt, use the brace. It'll help. Like, there's plenty of players who play with braces and are very effective. You know, like, it's okay. So we all saw the brace. The reporter saw the brace that were there at camp. So a reporter asked him, I'm going to get into some direct quotes right now. So you'll hear me read the quotes verbatim. So he was asked by a reporter after his second training camp session why he wore the knee brace during practice, but not in the games. And here's what he said, and I'm quoting this directly. Yeah, so I've been wearing this brace even 2 years ago when I had an MRI. It's just the longevity aspect. I intend to play this game for another 4, 5, 6 years if I can. So anything that helps me prevent my career from being shortened, I'm going to take those measures. That's the sole reason why I wear the brace. Okay, I'll get into my thoughts, but there's one more part. So that was already like, then I guess that question or there were other questions that I was not aware of, but I'm assuming it's that question because that was really the only question that was public about the knee brace, right? So he went to Twitter, as most disgruntled athletes do. So here's what he posted on Twitter, and this is directly from his feed. I'm just going to read it word for word. I'm going to address this one time and one time only. I am not injured. And to the media trying to make something out of nothing, I won't allow it. I wear a knee brace in practice for prevention and for my longevity in this league. I had this brace made years ago, and I wore it. And I wore ... it in other training camps and practices. Why is it a focus now? Excuse me. I won't allow you to put me in your hole of being washed up and injured. I'm just getting started! ! Now let's analyze this, because it's poopy. He wears the brace for prevention. After he got an MRI years ago. You mean like the years where you've been on IR like every other year, bro? That year? But you're not injured. Okay. Why not both knees? Prevention, right? Doesn't a running back need both knees? What, bro, you run knee? Y'all always run to the right? You don't have to worry about your knee on the left side? So why not both knees? Bro, why stop there? Get the elbow braces, bro. Protection, prevention. Keep them creases loose. You know what I'm saying? You got to cuff that ball. Get elbow braces. But you're not injured. And that's what bothered me the most. I'm not injured. And he made several statements like that, right? Like, and then you had to look at this man's face when he was saying these things. This not the Twitter thing, because obviously it's Twitter. You couldn't see his face. But when he answered that first question about the brace, it was almost like, what brace? This thing? Nah, that ain't no brace. This ain't nothing. You don't even see this. So that is what happened this preseason, right before this season. And let's bring it all home. Right, let's bring it all home. We talked about it a lot. I've probably been talking for about 20 minutes now. Let's bring it all home. Week 1. Game 1. Quarter 1. Second carry. He's out. Questionable to return. Let me run that back. Week 1. Game 1. Quarter 1. Carry number 2. He's out. Questionable to return with the knee injury. Post game. He might be a candidate for short-term IR. Sound familiar? Now today, 9:14, he posted again on Twitter. As most athletes do. He's having surgery and he's out for the year, bro. The year. Come on, bro. Come on. Come on, Raheem. Come on, bro. What is that? What is that about? It's a good thing the 49ers had a backup plan because they knew. They knew. So let's get into the show. And we got a lot to talk about. I'm going to try and keep my storylines to a minimum this week because we got to get into these games from last week. The first week was great. I thought every game was great. I got NFL Sunday tickets, so I'm switching back and forth. I got the 4 screens up. I got the red zone. I got the whole situation going on when it comes to Sundays. I thought maybe the Saints game, obviously that game was a blowout, so there wasn't much entertainment there. The Dolphins game was kind of boring. We'll talk about that one shortly. But overall, every game, even the Vikings and the Bengals, right? When I was on Know That Sports and we were trying to pick the Bengals and the Viking games, we were all like, why do we have to watch this? But let's see how many times I was right and how many times I was wrong, right? Cowboys lost. What else is new? But Dak was awesome. Brady was more awesome. Mike McCarthy, not so much. Now, Dan Quinn, I will say, we talked about before on a couple of podcasts, we talked about they're changing to a 3-4, and there were a lot of apprehensions. I wasn't initially sold as DeMarcus Lawrence being a stand-up rusher, but he was all right. Parsons, he's very good. So I see the Cowboys defense being better. I think they should run away with the division. But that's it, because it's the NFC least. Speaking of that division, the Eagles game, correct. I was right. I told y'all the Eagles would win. I told y'all Hurts was dynamic. I told y'all his weapons were dynamic, and that's what happened in the game. The Eagles D-line ate all day, and the Falcons have a lot to work on. I think Kyle Pitts should call Megatron or Barry Sanders just so he can get some help and some advice on what it's like to play for a terrible team as a baller. Steelers game, I was correct. A lot of offseason hype for Buffalo, but that hype don't end up between them white lines, right? Najee Harris, I called him out, played every snap on Sunday. Workhorse. TJ Watt got the check, showed why he deserved the check. It was a good game, and Pittsburgh won, and I think Pittsburgh will surprise a lot of teams this year. Vikings game, I was wrong, but I was almost right. A friend of mine is a Bengals fan. He was like, man, I turned the game off because I thought the Bengals were going to lose like they always do, but Burrow pulled it out. I was really happy for Jamar Chase. He was getting worked in preseason for his drops, but he had 5 catches. He had 101 yards. One was a 50-yard touchdown. And then post-game, he was like, I don't know if he opened with it or if somebody asked him a question, but basically during the post-game presser, he was like, I thought I couldn't catch. So I like that about him. 49ers game, I was correct. I was stressed out. Can't even lie to you. Especially when they got the onside kick. Like, come on, kiddo, what are you doing? We lost Verrett. I was hoping for the best. It was the worst. We lost Mostert, which we just talked about. But, like I said, we drafted 2 running backs in the draft. We drafted 2 defensive backs in the draft. So I can see that they knew about Mostert. Verrett doesn't have a positive history. He was great, obviously, when he was healthy. He was great coming back this season. But we have insurance. We started 1 rookie because of injuries at DB, and he looked okay. So I know we have a couple corners coming back. The running back we drafted, Elijah Mitchell, looks great. Trey Sermon didn't even play, and he's a baller. So we're good, and I think, and more importantly, right, Bosa was back. Did you see Bosa make plays? Because I saw him make plays. D Ford made plays. Did you see D Ford make plays? D Ford caused that pick 6. So I'm excited. We should be okay. Cardinals game, I was wrong as hell. Damn. Titans, what's up? Like, was I surprised by Murray going nuclear? Not really. That's what Murray does, right? Henry going for 58 yards? Yeah, I was a little surprised by that. Chandler Jones saw TJ Watt got paid, and he's like, yo, I want that. And he got off for 5 sacks. Now, here's what's hilarious is they posted he's on pace now for 85 sacks, and he should break the single season sack record by like week 5 or 6. So good win for Arizona. But I do wanna add a little special breakdown just for all my Cardinal fans out there, because it's really the exact same thing that I said during my week 1 breakdown, is that they put so much on Kyler Murray, and this game was no different. Running every highlight you see, he's running. I don't want to say for his life, but he's doing a lot of running, and not like north and south. I'm talking left and right, escaping. So 2020, first 8 games, and what we're going to look at again is, can he keep that? Can he keep that up? Can he do that 17 games? Well, 16 now because they already did it once. Can he do that for 16 games? And I'm not sure. And if we look at last season, there's an opportunity for us to see some trends, right? So look, last season, 2020, his first 8 games, 266 yards per game, 16 touchdowns, basically 2 per game. Excellent. Passer rating over 100. He was only sacked 8 times. And then he had 8 rushing touchdowns. So all of those great numbers. Now, second half, right? We talk about the second half of the season. Everybody's beat up. A lot more tape on film. We got usually that second division game in the second half of the season. Things get a little tougher. Now, let's look at Kyler Murray's stats. Down almost 36 yards per game, right? That's 3 first downs. Last season, they lost a lot of close games. Some of them could have been in those 3 first downs. He's down. So he's down to 230 yards per game. The second half of last season, he's down from 16 touchdowns to 10 touchdowns per game. So before, where he was averaging 2 touchdowns per game, now he's only averaging 1.25 per game. His passer rating down 10 points to 90. And where he had 8 rushing touchdowns, basically 1 rushing touchdown in his first 8 games, he only had 3 in all of his second 8 games of 2020, second half of the 2020 season. So can they keep Kyler Murray healthy? 1, and 2, can they be more of an offensively balanced team? And I don't mean offensively balanced such as the running game versus the pass. Kyler can't save them all season. Kingsbury is really going to be the key to that team. But good win for the Cardinals. Good for them. Seahawks and Colts, I was right. I talked about Mr. Unlimited, and he showed he was the best player on the field all game. 4 touchdowns, 78% completion percentage, 152 passer rating. The Colts had no answers. Chargers game, I was wrong. The Washington football team needed a little fist magic at the end, but instead it was Herbert, because Fitzmagic was hurt. So the magic went to Herbert. And they got the dub, and I'm okay with my pick because, it wasn't lopsided like my Cardinals pick. So I was wrong about the Chargers. Panthers game, I was correct. I mentioned it was the Sam Darnold revenge game during my week 1 video, and I totally forgot Robbie Anderson was also on the Jets last season. So the front office, and he went off. So the front office in New York has to be punching the air right now to see 2 of their former players come out and beat them. But good for the Panthers getting that revenge. Jaguars game, I was wrong. Sunshine. It's hella overcast most of the day. That was a terrible weather joke, but sunshine was not it. Now, if you saw my fantasy update and my Instagram stories, you actually see that Trevor Lawrence still went for 30 fantasy points, but I'm still not really sure. Like, was it like, okay, the Texans aren't that bad, or is it just like, oh, well, these are the Jaguars. We thought because there was a new coach and a new quarterback, they would be better, but it's still Jacksonville. So I'm not sure which one it is, just yet. We'll see. Browns and Chiefs. I was right. 3 words, 3 reasons why I was right. Patrick LeVon Mahomes. Oh, actually, it's 4. The second. Patrick LeVon Mahomes the second. You can't give him an inch. You can't relax. And I used this analogy the other day when I was talking to somebody about this game. And I said, the Chiefs remind me of like the Golden State Warriors. And I don't watch a lot of basketball, but I watch enough. The Warriors get bored. Curry's like, yo, let me just shoot from half court all game. Who cares if I make it or not, right? Like they get bored. They Patrick Mahomes just start throwing the ball. We'll figure it out. Let me see what I could do. But then when it matters, when it counts most, just like Curry, right? Mahomes and the Chiefs, they go for 33 to win the game. So that's what happened. Dolphins game, I was wrong, but barely, right? It was a 1-point game. I don't feel bad about that pick. The game was kind of boring. I'll be totally honest with you. At that time, I was relegated to kind of watching that game because the Saints game was a blowout. Dolphins game was on. I was like, let me just check this game out. Neither QB really showed me anything, which is okay if you're Mac Jones, because you just kind of found out you were the starter 2 weeks ago. There was all the hoopla about Cam Newton being released. But Tua, you're in year 2, bro. They kept you on the bench last year for development. They put you in the game for the second half of the season for development. And they got the dub. I'm all for it. But again, consistently, Tua got to show me something. Maybe in game 2 it'll be different. Game 1, I'm not seeing it. Saints and Packers. Damn, I was wrong. Packers. Oof, I was so wrong. Now, full disclosure, I'll be totally honest with you here. And this is good advice in life, not just in sports, because I'm trying to give you life lessons here too. Go with your gut. Always. Don't be afraid to challenge the status quo. Don't, if you feel like something is a certain way, just say that. And I should have did that. Because I wanted to pick the Saints. I really did. I believe in Jameis holds a special place in my heart as a Florida State Seminole football fan. Jameis brought the national championship home to Tallahassee. So Jameis holds a special place in my heart. But I turned into a sheep. I did. I looked at Aaron Rodgers. I looked at all the pundits picking Green Bay. I looked at Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, Drew Brees is gone. Michael Thomas is gone. Everyone's picking Green Bay. I just picked Green Bay. It was peer pressure. And then afterwards I was like, damn, I should have picked the Saints. Because that's what I felt. I felt it, right up in here in this gut area, and I didn't pick them. But yeah, honestly, offensively, Drew Brees, and he's a Hall of Famer, so I'm not saying it's nothing, but really, he's the only offensive player that is different, that was like a main cog in the offense. I know Emmanuel Sanders went to Buffalo. I know they just let go of Latavius Murray. But those two were role players as part of a larger system, right? And I think Drew Brees was definitely somebody who made that system go. But Jameis has a better deep ball, at least at this point in his career compared to where Drew was, last season. His deep ball was not deep, medium deep, diet deep. And Jameis played well. But that defense basically intact, and the defense was very good last season. And they won the game, and in his usual snooty Rodgers is going to tell us to relax. And, I just feel like sometimes he's a little too relaxed. And, like, during the game, they show I don't know if there's any player where they show his face more during the game, right? Like, during the game, you always see Rodgers with this and doing this shit with his chin strap and all this attitude. He's too relaxed. They lost. And I was wrong. And I apologize to myself for not believing in myself. Broncos and Giants, I was right. Bridgewater was a good move between him and Locke. I'm not saying Bridgewater is the future. Although, hey, you could do a lot worse. If you look at the game, Daniel Jones. You could do a lot worse at starting quarterback. So Bridgewater was a correct move to start at quarterback. And like I said, Daniel Jones likes to fumble. It's just his thing, Some quarterbacks throw touchdowns. Some quarterbacks scramble. Daniel Jones, his thing, fumble. Giants might end up with the number 1 overall pick. You heard it here first. Sunday Night Football, Rams and Bears. Justin Fields, man, he is, man, how does he keep that face, like, just so relaxed and chill when he's watching the Red Rifle out there just stinking it up, bro. Just stinking it up, man. I got to learn that patience. But, if I'm the owners and Nagy is still talking about Dalton is giving us the best chance to win like week 5 or 6, you got to go, Nagy. Like, you're not Andy Reid. We gave you Trubisky. We gave you Foles. I mean, those dudes aren't like, now we know those dudes aren't exceptional. But nah, Nagy, that ain't gonna work. By starting Andy Dalton, it almost reminds me of last season where the Eagles had a chance to go to the playoffs, and Doug Peterson, and I'm 112% sure of 2 things. I don't know which one it is, but I'm sure either one was in play. One, Peterson knew he was going to get fired. And he was like, watch this. He puts Sudfeld in the game and said Sudfeld gave them the best chance to win. He did that. And from my perspective, he's like, yo, I'm about to get fired. Screw y'all, Philly. Take this L and go home and Washington made the playoffs. The second thing is that I think he really thought Sudfeld was going to give him the best chance to win. Oh, whew, that was crazy. That was a good flashback there. So that's what it reminds me of. They're putting Andy Dalton in, talking about, the best chance to... There's no way Andy Dalton gives you the best chance to win. Ever. And finally, Monday Night Football. Wow, and wow. The Raiders and the Ravens went at it. And it was a great game. Back and forth, the Raiders were good. The Ravens were good. And then at the end, it just got nuts. And the Raiders, I saw this on Twitter, the Raiders almost went full Raider, right? Full Raider. After that red zone interception, they give up a touchdown. They lose the game in front of their home fans for the first time. That is what the Raiders do. And they almost did it. They got down to the 1. They didn't score. It was like a false start, a sack. I think there was a delay of game on the field goal. Like, it was just nuts. And maybe that was the second field goal. But anyway, they threw the interception in the red zone in overtime. And then Lamar Jackson fumbled. and the Raiders won the game. And I'm still not even really sure how it happened. But the Raiders won, and I was wrong because I picked the Ravens. But that was football, right? That was a good example of, I was not expecting that. And then what you weren't expecting flips over and it's something else you weren't expecting. So shout out to the Ravens, shout out to the Raiders. It was a great game. It was a great way to finish off a good first week of football. I thought Lamar Jackson looked more comfortable as far as his feet in the pocket. I definitely saw him sliding more and not just taking off to run. But I still saw a lot of jump pumps and a lot of like he sees the read, he sees the guy, and then at the last second he doesn't throw the ball. So he's still in development. He had some good throws, but moreover, those tackles for the Ravens. I'm watching the game. I'm like, did the Raiders trade for Nick Bosa? Did the Raiders somehow swindle TJ Watt away from the Steelers? Is Max Crosby? Is that? I had to squint my eyes. I was like, what jersey? Is that Max Crosby, bro? With 13 pressures and 2 sacks. I mean, everybody, they brought the other dude in, Carl Nassib. He was going off. Crosby was going off. Villanueva, the whole game, this Villanueva. What is this? And those of you listening to the audio version, I just did a very terrible impression of a tackle being pushed backwards in his stance. But they need to get that tackle situation together. And again, it was week 1, game 1, not a lot of preseason. So hopefully Villanueva gets better. But Lamar won't make it if he doesn't. Lamar's a running quarterback, but he's not a stout like, Steve McNair, Cam Newton, Trey Lance. Those dudes are 250, 6 something. Lamar's a slender dude. He's built like a wide receiver. He's fast and he does a really good job of getting out of the way. I think that's one of the things that I love about his game, is that he doesn't take a lot of big hits. But yesterday, man, he took several shots, and I was like, y'all might want to block that dude named Crosby because he was going smooth off. And that was week 1, and I ended at 9-7. 9-7. That's playoffs. That's playoffs. In the NFC East. That's a division winner in the NFC East. Oh, that's probably like 3rd place in the NFC West. Probably 3rd place in a couple of divisions that I could think of, but for sure, that's a division lockdown in the NFC East at 9-7. I'm locking it down. But good week, a couple of surprises, but for the most part, I was right. So let's try this again for week 2. So this time around, I think I'm just gonna go with the betting line. Instead of picking both, like a winner and a better, I think I'm gonna pick the winner, including the spread, right? So, I may pick a team that obviously is not gonna win the game, but they will certainly win the bet, and that's what I'll be doing going forward. So let's get into it, right? So I have to hurry up and do this video because now we have Thursday night football coming up in 2 days. So Thursday night football, we got the Giants and the Washington football team. The football team at -4. Even with Fitzpatrick out, I'm still going to take the Washington football team. Even at -4, I'm going to take the football team. Chase Young, Montez Sweat, Bostic. I think Daniel Jones will have a hard time in the pocket. I think the offense for the football team will get better with Heineke because he's a lot more mobile than people give him credit for. and he's not as gunslinger as Fitzpatrick. You know, he doesn't. I'm not saying he can't throw the ball. I just think Fitzpatrick always has like a showmanship about him. You know, and I think Heineke's gonna go in there and do the job. He knows that he's better. He knows that he knows that the football team is a better team, and he's gonna make sure they win the game, and not so much. You know, he's not going to get into the magical moments like Fitzmagic might. So I'm taking the Washington football team -4. All right, we got the Broncos at the Jaguars. We got the Broncos at -6. I could see the Jaguars keeping this one close. I'm going to take the Jaguars with the spread. Again, I think the Broncos will probably win the game, but I will take Jacksonville -6. I think they came on strong late against the Texans, and I think they will do the same against the Broncos, and they will cover those 6 points. So I'm taking the Jaguars with the spread, even though the Broncos will probably win the game. San Francisco -3.5 at Philadelphia. That's an interesting line. Wow, that's an interesting line. I'm going to take San Francisco regardless, though. I think we will win the game, and we will win the game, and it won't be as... I love the fact... I didn't love it when I was going through it when we were playing Detroit, that when they started coming back and we started to have, like mishaps, but I love that it happened in week 1 versus the Lions, because now... and I'm looking at the schedule, I don't think we will face another team as lowly as the Lions. So I think it was a great wake-up call for them to realize, the Lions could have beat y'all. So when you see the Eagles, when you see the Cardinals, it's go time, because any given Sunday, they could have beat y'all. So I'm glad that happened week 1. I'm glad they overcame. I'm glad it was close. So I don't see us having that problem with the Eagles. I think we're the better team. I think the Eagles' defensive line will give our offensive line a bigger challenge than the Lions will. But I still take San Francisco because obviously, squad. Buffalo Bills -3.5. At Miami Dolphins. That's also an interesting line. I think the Bills also had a good wake-up call. Again, I think it was good for them that it happened at the beginning of the season. I do think they will beat the Dolphins by a touchdown, so I don't think the Dolphins will cover the spread. So I will still take the Bills even at -3.5. Patriots at Jets. So we got the Patriots at -5. Mac Jones, Zach Wilson. I kind of like the Jets, but I think I only really like the Jets because of Robert Saleh. I don't think I really like the Jets because of who's on the team. Mostly because I'm not sure who's on the team. I know Zach Wilson. I know Mekhi Becton just went down for a couple of weeks on IR. I know Mayhew, the safety. Quinnen Williams, defensive lineman. That's about it. So I'm going to -5. That's a big spread, though. I'm going to take I'm going to take the Jets with the spread. You can see I'm still going back and forth, but I'm going to take the Jets given the spread because I think the Patriots will win by like a field goal or by like 2 points. I don't think they'll get out with a full touchdown lead against the Jets. I think the defensive philosophy for Robert Saleh is limit the scores. They're not really big on limiting yards because yards in the middle of the field are what? They're nothing, you know? It really counts when you get down into that red zone. And I think the Jets, I don't think the Jets will get that far away. I think the Patriots won't be able to pull away, at the line of -5. Now, if the line was like -3 or something, I could see like, all right, like for sure. But I really think it's going to be like a 3-point game. And I would take the Jets given the spread is -5, even though New England's probably going to win the game. Houston Texans at Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns at -11.5. No love for the Texans, even though they won, and I don't want to say they dominated, but they put up 40 or so, if I remember the score. They put up a good number of points against the Jaguars. I don't see Houston being close to the Browns given the spread. It's 11 points, 12 points basically. I can see this being a 2-touchdown game. So I'm going to stick with Cleveland even at -11.5. I'm still going to take Cleveland over the Texans. I know I said the Giants are going to get the number 1 pick. I think the Texans might be number 2. They moved up from number 1 to number 2, right? So they're getting there. They might continue to progress. -3, Saints at Carolina Panthers. I think the Saints are going to crush the Panthers. I think the Saints showed that they can play. I think the Saints defense is a lot better than the Jets defense that they played last week, Carolina. So I am taking the Saints, and J-Bo wins, and a bucket of crab legs. He's forever the crab leg man. I'm taking the Saints at -3. I think it'll be a 7-point game, maybe 10. Atlanta Falcons at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and this looks like our largest spread of the week, -13.5. Ugh. How's it feel, Atlanta Falcons to they look, somebody in that organization looks at this, at the spread, like I'm pretty sure somebody looks and says, 2 touchdowns? The team I work for is going to lose by 2 touchdowns? It might be 3. I'm taking Tampa Bay, even with the spread. Even with the spread being 13.5, I'm still taking Tampa Bay. I think the Atlanta Falcons defense is nowhere near the Buccaneers defense, and the Buccaneers are walking down the field on the Cowboys. Arizona Cardinals, Minnesota Vikings at -4. I'm going to take the Cardinals this week. Not because they won last week, but because it's the Vikings. Interesting with the Vikings, and this is what I hate about Google also is, you search for something on your phone, eventually you'll notice those things, or if you have what's really weird is you have a conversation with someone about something, and then you'll start to see ads for that thing, like it was almost listening to your conversation. So Skynet is real. But so when the draft was coming around, obviously there were lots of quarterbacks, one of them being Kellen Mond. And there was, Kellen, 49ers might move back and take a quarterback later. This was before they moved up. So Kellen Mond was one of those kind of middle first round, beginning second round kind of guys. So I would be looking for him, look at his stats or whatever. And now that he drafted in Minnesota, I end up getting a bunch of Minnesota Vikings news in my feed, which is cool. I now try to search for things that I know I'm going to want to see later. So I try and search for the whole NFL instead of just a specific team, because Google will lead you to what you want. So there was a lot of positive press about Kellen Mond during the offseason, that he's pushing Kirk Cousins, that he looks ready to go, that he has a strong arm, that he just needs to learn the offense, and he will be good. And then he didn't dress. Sean Mannion, I saw an article where they quoted that if Kirk Cousins goes down, Sean Mannion, that Sean Mannion, whoever that might be. But I know Sean Mannion because he used to play for the Rams, and he's an NFC West dude. But Sean Mannion gave the Vikings a better chance to win than Kellen Mond. So, it's interesting to see what they're doing with their rookie quarterback. But I'm going to take the Arizona Cardinals even at -4. I think they win the game by 7+. I could even see them winning the game by 10 plus points. Especially if Chandler Jones keeps up this trend of 5 sacks per game, I could see the Cardinals winning big. Seahawks at the Tennessee Titans, -5.5. I'm not even sure why the line is that low, after last week's debacle in Arizona. Because if we think about it, Kyler Murray is basically Russell Wilson that runs a 4-3. Think about it. Both of them are baseball players. Both of them were drafted into the Major League Baseball draft. Both of them are short. Both of them have curly hair. They're basically the same quarterback. It's just Kyler Murray's obviously way faster. Like, I don't know if it's because his legs are short or if he has small feet. Like, I don't know what it is, but his legs and his feet are moving 2 times faster than everybody else's feet and legs on the field. But if you think about it, Russell Wilson is the blueprint for Kyler Murray, and Tennessee had no answers. So Russell Wilson, Mr. Unlimited, coming in as the OG Kyler Murray? No way. It's not happening. And I just got a notification or something on my phone. Okay, it ended. Yeah, no way it's happening. No way. Seahawks, even with the 5.5 point spread, I'm taking the Seahawks. I don't think Tennessee has a shot. We got the Los Angeles Chargers, -2.5 at the Dallas Cowboys. This is going to be a very, very good game. Damn. And just to be totally honest, I bring up the spreads before I start the show, but I do not really sit and analyze them. So this is a live analysis, and this is how I kind of look at it, right? I kind of start going position by position, group by group. I got to think defensively, I think both teams are kind of on the same level. I think the Chargers, excellent pass rush, Bosa, excellent secondary. Chris Harris is still there. Derwin James is back. So I like the Chargers defensively. I like the Cowboys defensively. Solid corner play. DeMarcus Lawrence looked really good. Whole D-line, as a matter of fact, looked really good for the Cowboys. Running back. It's hard to pick a running back just because, I think they ran 4 times with Zeke, and I don't know how much of that had to do with, obviously, Tampa Bay's D-line is stout. So is the Chargers, I saw some posts about Zeke being washed. I'm not sure. He looks in better shape. Chargers -2.5. I'm going to take the Cowboys with the line because the Cowboys will either win or they'll lose at the end by 1 point. Because that's what Cowboys do, right? That's what the Cowboys do. The Cowboys gonna cowboy, which is basically what they did last Thursday. Is just whenever you think the Cowboys are gonna cowboy, boom, there it is. Fumble, boom, interception, boom, sack. Negatively, of course. So I'm gonna take the Cowboys, given the spread of 2.5. But I think the Chargers will win the game, but I think the Cowboys will keep it very close. Cowboys will keep it close enough to lose. They will snatch defeat from the arms of victory. That's my dog. And then we have our last game, Monday Night Football, divisional game, Detroit Lions versus the Green Bay Packers, -10.5. Now that's a wide spread. And Detroit showed some gumption last week. So again, when we're talking about the spread, do I think that Detroit has a chance to win the game? Hell no. I can't even say no. I gotta say hell no in my Snoop Dogg voice. Hell no, cuz. But Green Bay is gonna be in the same boat. I think they get up early. I think, they start to put on their little caps. They start dapping it up, dancing on the sideline, and Detroit will run off a couple points and get within 10. I think they could do that. I think they showed some offensive creativity. I think Jamal Williams is a better running back than people give him credit for. He played for Green Bay, so he's going to be fired up. He may even have an inside track on the plays. He may know what the defense is going to run. He may know what the offense is going to run to tip off Jared Goff in the offense. So, it's an interesting game. I think the Packers are going to win. I don't think they'll win by more than 10.5 points, though. I think it'll be an easy game for them. I think they'll get up by 14 and shut it down. I think they'll put in Jordan Love. And they'll start calling stupid run plays. And I think the Lions will come back to cover the spread. So obviously Green Bay is going to win the game. But I think the Lions will definitely cover the spread. Whew. And that's our week 2. Best luck to all of your teams. Stay tuned to the Big Block Sportscast. Again, if you're listening, you can now listen on SoundCloud. You can listen on Spotify. Coming soon to Apple. Coming soon to all other podcast platforms like Castbox, Google Podcast. I'm working on getting that distribution set up. You can watch this video live on YouTube. You can follow Big Block Sports on Facebook. You can follow me on Instagram. I'm very active on Instagram when it comes to highlights, when it comes to fantasy updates, when it comes to NFL memes, which I love. Speaking of NFL memes, there's a page. And it's funny because it was the headlining story today called Raheem Mustard, like mustard spread, mustard. Hilarious. Best NFL memes by far. So if you like NFL memes, if you like fantasy football, if you like highlights, all of that is there on my Instagram. And then during the games and throughout the day, Twitter for sure. I'm live tweeting during the games. Big Block Sports with Malcolm A. Episode 2 in the books.